Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Steelers tailgating ranked best in Pennsylvania. Pittsburgh Steelers tailgating is the best in Pennsylvania. Of course, we knew that. But now it's official, at least according to a new national poll that compared other football tailgating options. Steelers came in at number 21 compared to teams across the country, with the Philadelphia Eagles at number 33, Penn State Nittany Lions at number 66 and Pitt Panthers at number 77. The top 10 included, when asked about the best part of tailgating, 38% of fans chose the pregame excitement and rituals as their favorite part, 30% loved bonding with fellow fans, 26% liked food and drinks best, and 6% enjoyed the chance to dress up and show team spirit, the poll found. What's tailgating without the perfect setup? The poll found that 34% would splurge on a custom van or RV decked out in team colors, 24% would purchase a top-notch grill and smoker or a large screen to watch pregame coverage, and 18% of fans would go for a sound system. Tailgating is truly where the heart of football fandom beats, said Emil Stewerson of LiveSportsONTV.com. Our survey shows that fans don't just come for the game, they're here to connect, celebrate and immerse themselves in a community. Tomlin on legitimately humble, mutters, Boz. Hugh, you said at your news conference that you didn't watch video of the Ravens game because of the short turnaround to tonight's game in Cleveland. Do you do it that way also to send a message to your players that this week was all about looking toward this game? If the message was received in that way, then great, but that wasn't my intention. There were really some challenges this week in terms of preparation. There's usually division familiarity, which is a great place to start in terms of your general knowledge, not only of the players in their division of labor, but the schematics, the strategy component, how the Cleveland Browns play. 3 weeks ago, they made a couple of significant changes in making Ken Dorsey the play caller and at quarterback with Jameis Winston, and that really created some anxiety in me, and the more time I could spend familiarizing myself with those men in their roles and how it might change Cleveland's offensive personality, I thought that was more worthy of my time. Hugh, another thing you said about the short turnaround was that you have learned about the importance of the final 24 hours before kickoff. How do you now like to utilize that time? For me, I drown myself in situational scenarios. I try to have the feel of 6 or 7 day preparation on a 4-day work week, and so there's no shortcut to that. I absorb a lot of video. I've had as many formal and informal conversations with components of my staff relative to circumstances. There's a great deal of comfort in preparedness when you're on a 7-day cycle between games, and it's my job to get myself to that place on a 4-day work week, and that's how I spend my last 24 hours. Hugh, one of the things you often do in your post-game remarks is give credit to that day's opponent. Why do you take that approach? Because I understand how competitive this league is and how fine the line is between drinking wine and squashing grapes. This is the ultimate parity league. This is a humble man's business, because you know you're next, but kicking is right around the corner. It's just the nature of it. And so I've learned to absorb and own negativity, while at the same time, I've gained an appreciation for tipping the cap to preparedness on the other side and quality play on the other side. As someone who has benefited greatly from being in this ecosystem all of my adult life, I owe that to the game. Hugh, is learning how to deal with success, and by that I mean the ability to refocus on the next opponent after defeating the previous one, the last piece of the puzzle for a team to develop with designs on competing for a championship? There's no question, because as the road gets narrow, you've got to continually get better. And the only way you get better is working with an edge, and you better have that edge regardless of the outcome of football games. You better assume that the Joneses, the people who you don't see, are doing similar things. You pay them that respect, because sooner or later as the road gets narrow, it's going to be good on good in a bowl, and you better be ready. Hugh, it's mid-November in Cleveland, and this game will be played outdoors in a stadium that borders Lake Erie. At racetracks, Thoroughbreds that perform well on off-tracks are referred to as mutters, and that's a compliment. Are there NFL QBs who are mutters? There's no doubt. Old number 7 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That Northwest Ohio boy was born for ugly days. I enjoyed working with him. He was at his best in miserable conditions. He thrived in it. Some people are built like that. Some of it's a mentality, some of it's just where they're from, and what they're used to in terms of their relationship with the game as young people. But certainly there are people who thrive in those circumstances and have a skill set that's geared toward those circumstances. Le'Veon Bell was another one, being a Columbus, Ohio, boy and a guy who played college ball in East Lansing. Very rarely did he lose his footing. He had good balance. His feet were always under him. It didn't matter what the surface was like, he was virtually the same, regardless of ground conditions, as another example. They play the right way. Max Crosby for sure believes Mike Tomlin deserves Coach of the Year award. Before this season began, it felt like the Pittsburgh Steelers had more doubters than at any time in recent history. More people picked them to finish last than first in the AFC North. Through 11 weeks of play, they've silenced a lot of criticism. Much of the credit for that should be given to Mike Tomlin. Las Vegas Raiders pass rusher Max Crosby really likes what the Steelers are doing, believing Tomlin deserves to win the Coach of the Year award. If they keep it up, for sure, Crosby said recently on his podcast, The Rush, when asked if Tomlin should win the award. 8-2? I don't think many people thought they were going to be 8-2. They just don't beat themselves, and they cause turnovers. They play the right way. That grimy AFC North football. It's crazy to me that Tomlin hasn't won a Coach of the Year. You'd think he'd be up for the favorite if it's not Dan Campbell. The Steelers play a brand of football that an edge rusher like Crosby would appreciate. He even got to experience it in person this year, losing to the Steelers in Week 6. Pittsburgh has only improved since then, and their offense has taken off with Russell Wilson under center. It is kind of crazy that Tomlin has never been named Coach of the Year over the 17-year span that he's been a head coach. He's had seasons that should have put him in contention, but he's never taken the award home. This year might be his best chance yet. Some fans might have had faith in the Steelers, but most people thought they would take a gigantic step back compared to last year. Instead, they've been much better. That shouldn't be too surprising. The Steelers made key additions on offense and defense. They upgraded at offensive coordinator, which was arguably their greatest flaw over the past few years. People doubted if Russell Wilson had anything left in the tank, but Tomlin believed in him. So far, that's proven to be the right decision. Campbell is the head coach of the Detroit Lions, and he might be Tomlin's stiffest competition. His team is 9-1 and on top of their division. They've absolutely demolished some of their opponents this year, too. This race might come down to the wire between Campbell and Tomlin. It's probable that Tomlin doesn't care about an individual accomplishment like that. Whenever he speaks, he's more focused on winning games and returning to the Super Bowl. Winning Coach of the Year would be nice, but it might feel hollow without a championship. And you, fan? What do you think of the situation of Max Crosby? Leave your opinion in the comments.